Good morning, folks. But I'm just going to show you a bit of what I'm doing at the minute, which is I'm just doing a sketchbook exercise. I do quite a few of these just to sort of try and improve on the methods that I use. This one is a graphite, and it's of an eye, a young lady's face, but it's just one eye. I will be doing the same one again further on in the sketchbook, but obviously in colour, with coloured pencils, and I may even do it in watercolours as well, just to see what the different effects are. First thing that I did was it was a 12 centimeter by 12 centimeter image. So I drew a grid out in the sketchbook here, which is 12 centimeters by 12 centimeters. Then following the grid method, I actually drew in I've drawn in the eye. I've rubbed out most of the grid markings. I've just got a few more to do. But before that, I'm actually doing this little bit here, which is the background. Okay, so I use the grayscale, which I've got here, to determine the values of on this piece. And obviously on the background, it's quite a dark one. So what I did to build the layers up, started with an HB, done two rows with two layers with the HB, and then blended that with a tissue. Okay, and now I'm working on 2B. So now I've moved up to a 2B, and I'm actually doing, I'm going to do two layers of the 2B. So you can see I've got down to about here. I'm doing, what I'll do is I'll do some cross hatching. So I'm doing that way to start. And I'm using very, very light pressure. Okay. So I'm holding the pencil quite far back. I'm doing light pressure. Try and keep the edges as neat as I can. And then I'm going to go back this way. Again, light pressure. Okay. You could use circular motions if you wanted circular strokes. There's cross hatching, which I've just done here. I do cross hatching on the first few layers on the base layer, but then I'll move on to circular motion. Right then, so I've got my tissue again. So I'm just gonna softly blend this with the tissue. When I get up there, I'm going to use a brush. So let's have a look. I'm going to use a shader, soft shader brush. And I'm just going to blend up top here with a brush, very light pressure. The brush will pull, if you look, it pulls the pigment around more. So let's that back down here. Okay. It smooths it all out. Okay. And then I'm just going to take my Tombow rubbers. Just tidy, keep the edges tidy. The puffer to clean any debris away. That. So that's the 2B. I've done two layers of the 2B. So now I'm going to move on to 4B. And now I'm going to actually start using circular strokes. So again, holding the pencil far back, and use just the weight of the pencil rather than gripping it. And then I'm just doing some like oval or circular oval or whatever you want to call them strokes. Now you can see this is getting a lot darker, but you can see it's, the darker the pencil, it looks a bit grainy, until we actually smooth it in, blend it in. Okay. Lost the edge of it there, so let's go back up there. Right, so just remember light pressure. Careful around this edge here, which is the face. Okay. So once I use the grid method and I've drawn, lightly sketched in the positions of the eye, a pupil, etc. What I did then, I went over it with an HB Stedler, which is one of the best pencils, so it just doesn't move a lot. So I've got the lines that I want there. They're darker than what I would normally do, just so that you can see them on the screen. But I will be lightening them with a putty rubber when I come to work on them. But the HB one is the better one to actually just sort of map them in so you can see where you're going and when you're sort of going over with pencil. Okay, so that's one layer with the 4B. So what does, oh, here's my brush. So again, I'm just going to get this brush. This is a nice soft brush. So again, I'm not using very hard pressure, but I'm just sort of using circular motions with the brush as well. And I'm sort of pulling the pigment down. So the pigment's moving around on the paper and going into the paper as well, but without destroying the tooth of the paper. And as you can see, the background now is getting darker. Okay. So that was my first layer with the 4B. So that's darkened up tremendously to what it was. So now go back again, and this time do another layer. Again, I'm using circular motion. So this background is sort of the darkest value on the picture. So this will give me a good guide for the rest of the values. The pupils is the same value, so I will do the same process with the pupil. It should be to start with the HB, a couple of light layers with the HB, then to 2B, 4B. You could possibly miss out the 2B on the pupil, it's a smaller space. Do the 4B and then the 8B. Okay. We can now see the side of the young lady's face appearing. Okay. You could use a blending stump for this as well. But if you use a blending stump, be careful that it doesn't sort of kill the tooth of the paper. So now I'm blending again with this shader brush. It's a makeup brush actually, but it's a good quality one. And just light pressure. Just moving the pigment around, as you can see there. It's now, oops, we've got another on there. So let me just have a look at that. There's a bit of graphite or something on there. See if I can pick it up. No, let's have a look. Use my Tombow. What I'm going to do is quickly, I'm just going to blend it back with the HB. And then we'll go back over with the 4B. There we go. Carry on shading, that should, yeah, so that's disappeared a bit now. So, I mean, we're going a lot darker, so, but you still want to make sure, keep an eye on, because sometimes you get these little graphite drops of dust. And the best way to get them out is with using a putty rubber with a very sort of, make it into a tiny point like that. And then gently tap on there. Sorry about the shadows today. I don't know. Seems to be. It's because I've got the camera on the shelf, I think. So it's that's better. You can see it. Have a look at that's it. It's on a bit of an angle, but you can at least see there. Okay. So let's go back now. Let's use the 8B. I'm putting slight more pressure on it, not too much, but a little more pressure on it just to get the depth now. And again, I'm using small circular motions because the background, we just want it to be as smooth as we can get it. Okay. Again, trying to keep these edges tidy. I'm not putting too much pressure on it, but just slightly more than what I have been doing. And the pencil's more or less on its side, and it has got like a chisel point if you look carefully there. It's not a real point, it's got a bit of a chisel edge on it, so that's great for working larger areas. Try to fill in all the tooth of the paper. If there's any gaps or anything that you think's been missed, make sure you fill them all in. And down from the top. Hmm. So I've got this the master touch. This is a little fill bear. It's a size 2. It's only a small space where I'm working, so. But the darker you move up the pencil range, it's a bit grainier, so we need to circular motions, but we need a bit stiffer brush than the soft brush. Okay, to move the pigment around, a bit of loose pigment there. Now, what I'm going to move on to now is I'm going to move on to one of the Staedtler black pencils. And I'm going to use the 8B. So, but this is a black one. So this is more of uh, not just pure graphite. It's a lot darker. You can see it here, and it's more carbon. It's got carbon in it. So I use the 8B. The problem with the black ones, I love them for the depth of color, but they're not as easy to blend. So you do have to use light motions, light strokes with this, but you can see it is a lot darker in the color that you're starting with, in the shade of black on the grayscale. Okay. So with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be doing it, I'm going to sort of cross hatch it in every way. So I shall do vertical, horizontal, and then diagonal to try and get as smooth a surface as I can. Don't rush this, just take your time. Got a nice point on this pencil, so I'm just every now and then just turning it round. Careful with the contour of the face. Okay. There's some diagonal now. Again, light pressure. And keep turning your pencil so you keep the point. Although I haven't got the pencil upright because I don't want to damage the tooth of the paper and I don't want to indent it either. So okay. More diagonal that way. You can see how it's starting to smooth out by using the cross-hatching method as well. But it shouldn't need as much blending. Keep it moving, light pressure all the time. It's all about layering. Okay. To do some horizontal strokes. You can see that it's smoothing out really nicely. But I'm only using light pressure again. I'm not going in with a pencil heavy. That's why I'm holding it far back. If you hold it further back towards that side of the pencil, then you can't put that much more pressure on it anyway. Okay. I mean, obviously, if I was doing this and not recording, I would have it on on an easel, and I would be able to move around, and I'd move the sketchbook around a little bit more. Okay. So we'll have a go at blending this first, and then see if we could need to go any darker. Okay. So I'm going to use the master. Yeah, I'm using the master touch number 2. It's not moving very well, so let's have a look. The other one we can use is Daily Rowney. Here we go. This one is number 2, Phil Bear. This is a little bit stiffer because I say that the ones with the carbon in are a bit harder to actually blend. Again, I'm using medium pressure to sort of move the pigment around. Okay, you see it's nicely starting to move in. Right then, so now what I'm going to use is another pencil that I sometimes use with this. And it's a Conte Parry It's a Perry Noir 3B. Now, this is a very soft, it's like a charcoal graphite pencil, but it's very, very dark. The pigment's really strong on it. Okay, so I do if I've got some very dark areas, but again, it's very light pressure. Okay, and I just put a layer of this on the top. Light pressure again, but just keeping it as even as we can. You see how much darker that's taking it from there. Back over it again. Make sure I've got every area sort of covered and you can get it as smooth as I can. I mean, I'm not only working in a sketchbook though, again, that can make a difference as well. I would normally be working on some hot press paper, yeah, usually Arches, which I find is the best paper to work on. You can do the Bristol's smooth, but I do prefer the Arches. So that's another tip. So I'll just blend this in and then we'll leave it there. And then, so what I'm going to do is, I think, yes, where are they? Oh, lost them. There we go. I'm just going to use a Derwent blending stump for this one. Again, light pressure. So I'm just softening that, moving the pencil pigment around. Looking a lot smoother now. You can see that it's looking almost black, but it's layered up, so it does produce a nice depth. Okay. As I say, I'll take a break and then I'll come back and show you how we lighten the rest of the image off, and then we can start working on the eye. So first of all, before I do that, before I finish, let's just tidy up these edges a little bit. So if I just put my ruler down there, using my Tombow mono, and then either a brush or one of the puffers to get rid of the excess. Okay, that's tidied that edge up, and then let's tidy this edge up here. Mono rubber. Go. Not too bad. Use the pencil there to neaten it off there. And then just go down the side of the face. Make sure all of the there we go. We need to just take out some of this. Yep, there. I'm just going to go around with the mono and then I'll dab it with the putty rubber in a bit. Yeah. Roll that off. Excess graphite there. Okay. So that's the first stage. That's the take off all this there we go, all the dust off. And then I'm going to use the putty rubber and we're going to sort of lighten this area up and we're going to start with the eye. Okay, but I'm just going to take a short break and I will see you again in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.